All right, thank you for staying with Daybreak. It's State of the Nation. We're talking about us, politics and everything in between here. We're back from the break. Honorable Anthony Kibagendi is with us, Member of Parliament, Kitutu Churches South. Honorable Nelson Koech, Member of Parliament for Belgut. Sheikh Abdullahi Abdi, Chairman NAMLEF. And Charles Owino, Chairperson KIMC. Now, we're talking about being in a political crisis and how to get out of it. Senators yesterday had a very candid conversation amongst themselves in the houses of the Senate. Let's listen to what Wambua and also CS Kuria had to say about how to deal with the entire crisis that we are in. Listen.
Reduce the size of your cabinet from 21 to 14, the minimum. Merge departments. Reduce the number of principal secretaries from 51 to around 30. The size of the cabinet in the US is 15. With a population of more than 340 million people.
Because the biggest problem we have in this country, I will not lie to you, is civil servants. And I'm speaking like this as a Minister Judge of Public Service. Travel, mandazis, flowers, unnecessary expenditure, absenteeism, per diems, name it. I will clean up this public service. I will clean it up.
Owino, will trimming this, is this the best way to deal with government perceived extravagance?
I want to take you back a bit. That will be part of solutions to reducing expenditure, because our biggest problem here is in a budget, you must be able to get revenue, which we are going to expend. So that would be a solution. But I want us to go back to what Mheshimiwa was saying. Our biggest problem is the level of dishonesty amongst ourselves as Kenyans and the tribal divisions, where I simply just hate someone because maybe he comes from a certain community. We are not looking at ourselves as Kenyans. And the biggest problem is that we have had a breakdown in communication within ourselves, because many Kenyans don't understand the situation at which the president took over this country. If people can go back and get to know exactly that what is our position as a country. A friend of mine recently gave me a very simple example of what we call fuliza. If your maximum is 30,000, na umefuliza 29, imebaki moja. So you can only go for the one, you cannot go for more than one. So that means you have to look for alternative means of raising revenue. So first of all, we need to tell Kenyans, where were we when we came into this current government? What is our position? Because number one position is to pay debts. I remember in 2013, when this government took over, 2013, 2014, I remember Honorable Raila Odinga complaining and saying that we were borrowing too much. There were a lot of issues, even when the Eurobond came, a lot of issues. People have forgotten. I remember recently the president telling us he has paid the $2 million US dollars, the $2 billion US dollars Eurobond. That's a lot of money. If he has managed to collect that money and paid it, because I've heard people saying, what has he done? But I don't want to get into that because I'll push up emotions of those who don't want to be reasonable. But what I'm saying is we must ask ourselves that what do we require even to pay our debts? The only thing that I know has brought problems is, yes, we have problems, but the common mwananchi can see how members of parliament are spending, how they are behaving over weekends with their harambes and so on. So I think that should be the major thing that maybe would have made members of the public get agitated. That, hey, munataka pesa kwetu, but how are you spending it? Mm. But the truth of the matter is that the government is training. And let me tell you, before, in the 1970s, 80s, and 1990s,
yeah,
every person who left college got a job. If you are trained as a teacher, you got posted. If you are trained as a doctor, we must admit that the population of the young men now who have completed college and they cannot get money.
Yeah.
And they are at their most active ages when they want to start families, they want to start businesses. Are you getting me?
Yeah.
They are seeing some of us who have worked for many years, who maybe are earning pension, who maybe have money, are misbehaving. But the truth of the matter is we should be looking at a way how we are going to develop more industries, how we are going to create jobs.
Okay, but what about
and that is why, just a minute,
expenditure?
and that is why, when Mheshimiwa is talking about the finance bill, what I remember is that there were issues raised against that finance bill in public participation. One of it was taxing bread. One of it was tax on motor vehicles, where when you were paying your insurance, you had to pay a minimum of 20,000 and a maximum of 100,000. Taxing of parts. What I'm saying is, in event that these areas were shelved, and then we look at other opportunities, like I remember we have a lot of problems with illicit brews here, and we have a lot of problems with unwarranted or bringing in of ethanol through Magendo and so on and so forth, where government said that those who will produce ethanol here will only pay 30%, and those who will import will pay 100%. There were a number of things in that finance bill that would otherwise have enabled us to do quite a number of things that would be able to increase jobs and so on. So what Kenyans should be debating on is not how to remove President William Ruto from office. What Kenyans should be debating on is how do we improve our economy? How do we stop unnecessary tribalism? How do we stop unnecessary spending? And so on and so forth. So what I can say is, and I want to ask my young brother here, I think you are very young. What I'm saying is, the future is with you guys. And stop arguing for the sake of it, for excitement that we throw away the finance bill. No. What you should have argued further is what I saw you people arguing, that this is wrong, let us remove this, let us put this. But if we get excited and then we are not looking at the effort that has been done. I'm a farmer at home. Just a minute. I'm a farmer at home. If I look at the acreages that I'm able to farm now, because of what they did for us, they subsidized our fertilizers. It's bigger for us. So what I'm not just a minute. Before you go. So what I'm requesting is, let us not throw things for the sake of it. Let us not go against our brothers and sisters. When they are wrong, they are wrong. But when something is right, it is right. But we must go back. Members of Parliament go back and tell us what was our status as at the time President William Ruto took over government. And that's what would we collectively do together. That's
why I want to bring in Kibagendi. Nobody is complaining that we are not in a bad spot. In fact, it is generally agreed that out of every 100 shillings, more than 70 shillings goes into paying our debt. That is not disputable. We are also agreeing here that the wage bill is at 47% of the revenue collected, and the PFM Act says it should be at 35%. Having known that, this dishonesty that Charles is talking about, should the president have done better? For example, what the senators are saying now, don't take the maximum number of cabinet secretaries, take 14. The Constitution allows you to keep it at minimum.
Great. First, I would like to correct my brother here, Nelson Koech. He's confusing the efficiency of the Royal Media House with incitement. Since you have cameras at every spot in this country, you're just doing your job. So don't be uncomfortable with Kenyans knowing what is going on anywhere in this country. And my brother Trevor, like we said, at this point, we need to talk about how we redeem this country, how we redeem the presidency, because President William Ruto lost legitimacy the other day. That is where we are. He is our friend, and we need to speak the truth. A president needs to govern a country that he has support in, because if he doesn't have support, he'll have to go the authoritarian way. Now, he needs to rebuild confidence. And rebuilding confidence includes taking some of the measures that you've mentioned. Reconstituting the cabinet, dissolving the cabinet and coming up with fewer members of the cabinet. And distributing the opportunities equitably. You know, the other day I was looking at the list of the permanent secretaries. We have 43 communities in this country. Actually, can I say about 45? But the president thought it wise to have 13 to 15 from his backyard, about 13 from Mount Kenya, and then some other communities don't have even a representative. And you can't tell me even the El Molos didn't go to school, or the Kisses didn't go to school. So what we are saying here, while the president is really at a difficult situation, he needs to deal with some of the issues that Kenyans have raised. And some of these issues include dissolving the cabinet, and then coming up with people who can actually transform this country. You know, we have a government that have misplaced priorities, whereby a professor of law who has taught, who is an academician, Professor Kindiki, is CS for Interior. And then a DC, District Commissioner, is a CS for Education. What is that? What are we demonstrating to Kenyans? We are gifting friends opportunities, not looking at merit.
Yeah.
We are gifting friends opportunities, not looking at their capabilities. So, what we need to see is the president leading. Today we are not castigating. We want to encourage the president to lead, not with an iron fist.
Yeah.
He needs to lead as a father. Bring people together. He needs to be building consensus. We have a president who likes competing and winning. This is not about that. This is about weaving this country together. And for the president to lead, he has to start by leading his deputy president, who has gone astray, who has gone haywire. They don't speak from the same script. They don't read from the same script. And how will you lead your deputy president if you have members of parliament in leadership who belittle him, who arrogantly step up to podiums to try and bring him down and demonstrate how he's a villager? He does not know how to dress. He does not know how to do this and that. To the extent they are formulating stories to try and bring down the deputy president. You know, I'm one person who never liked the deputy president for a long time, but because of the recklessness and the inappropriate culture these members of parliament from Kwanza have demonstrated, I'm beginning to say, hey, indeed, the deputy president is a truthful man. When they openly disrespect the DP, and the president is in some of the fora that these people utter certain words, it shows that there is a problem in there. So when they call for their PG, the president needs to read the Riot Act. And today, I want to again reiterate that the Finance Bill 2024 was just a trigger. The issues include things from even the Kriegler report, the Ndungu report, the NADCO report that we have today, that the government has been dodging. We need to confront our fears. And there's this excuse that Honorable Wino is coming up with, my senior here, that we need to look at where the president got this country and where we are. Those are excuses. Those are excuses. You need to get, you know, the president and government have had this thing called the scapegoat mentality. They have to look for something that they use to blame consistently. They started, when we came in, there were empty coffers. They've been collecting taxes for 2 years. That was shelved when Kenyans told him, hey, you've been collecting taxes. They moved on. Now, the opposition, when last year we were agitating against this, the finance bill, when we organized Mandamano, They said the opposition is frustrating our efforts of transforming this country. The next, then they clobbered us. They killed young people then. They moved on. We stopped the mandamano. They moved on. The judiciary is now the one that is slowing down our development.
Okay.
These excuses must come
All right,
to an
you
end.
call them excuses. In fact, let me bring in something here.
Okay, one second before you bring it. So when the president, during campaigns, stood in a podium and said, I'll give expectant mothers diapers for 3 months. I will give so-and-so these roads. I will do this to the young people. We will reduce taxes. We will reduce the cost of higher education. And then when he gets in, he does the opposite.
Okay.
That is what has triggered the problem that we have.
Coach, you know, there's something that people are saying that Kenya doesn't have a revenue problem. It's an expenditure problem. And part of it, and I see you shaking your head, let me listen to what Edwin Sifuna had to say, the Nairobi City County Senator himself. Let's listen to what he said yesterday.
There is 377,000 Kenyan shillings on my ETC. Members of Parliament, the staff of Parliament have to be honest with Kenyans. In the way the budgets of Parliament are prepared, there are ways and means of reducing the expenditure in this House in a manner that will reduce the burden on taxpayers. I honestly do not need all that money. Even if I ran up and down the expressway for a year, I would never exhaust 370,000 Kenyan shillings.
When one legislator has 377,000 shillings on his electronic toll collection gadget, you still don't think that there's an expenditure problem?
There's an expenditure problem. But so the hypocrisy in this country is nauseating. The hypocrisy in Parliament is nauseating. You look at the Senate yesterday, I mean, it's a bunch of this team of legislators who we've had. There's nothing new today. He didn't have to wait for Gen Zs to come out for him to declare that he has 377,000 in his card.
But the fact that he has it is a problem.
That's what I'm saying.
This is what Kenyans are complaining about, that we have an expenditure problem and a revenue problem. So it's not that our coffers were empty.
That's what I'm
it's
saying.
How we spend the money that we have.
Did it have to take the Gen Zs for Honorable Sifuna to come out and say, I have 377,000 shillings on my card? Did it have to take Gen Zs?
For how long has he had it?
And for how long has he used it? Can he refund the one that is used already because he's declared?
Why does he have it in the first place?
Yes,
that is the question everybody's asking.
That tells you
because this goes through right before your eyes, and all of you knew this.
That tells you the hypocrisy. No, that's Parliamentary Service Commission. When they come, Parliamentary Service Commission is a whole commission. And I like the conversation that Kenyans are having now that, you know, let's get rid of these commissions and all these other bodies that are necessarily taking a lot of money from the exchequer. But let me say this. Yesterday, what I watched in the Senate is hypocrisy that stinks to the high heavens. People who are just hypocrites, people who are not honest, people who are actually declaring that, you know, we've been receiving so much money. Even you, as a media house, are fighting politicians who are competing now to decline salary increment because of the moment. In fact, let me tell you, as a country, I wish SRC can use this opportunity to reduce even further the salaries of these politicians. Bring it down to even 200,000 shillings at this point, because everyone now is declining an increment. But it is a hypocrisy. I live with these people. We're in parliament with them. I know their hearts. Even this Kibageni, it's only that it's his birthday today. I don't want to hammer him. These people want money so badly. And it brings me to a conversation. Why do politicians want so much money? It is because then we must look back of demonetizing our campaigns. We must look at Harambes. We have all these Harambes, and we must have a conversation as a country and say, do we get rid of Harambes? So that, you know, politicians now don't have to go and look for money. I saw my colleague Honorable Salasha's pay slip yesterday. He only has 24, he was candid enough to have it on his account. Yeah, published. So he earns 26,000 shillings. I am telling you, members of parliament are living a lie. They are living a fake life. They are living an illusion. People take loans to go and give out in Harambes so that they can be re-elected, so that they can continue to live this life that is not real.
Speaking of Harambes, there's a picture of you with money.
Yes,
I can bring that up right now. Where do you get all this money? That's you right there.
Yes,
right?
that's me.
That's 3 million.
Brilliant, yeah. Let me
Where
say this.
Where did you get all this money?
This was Senator Aaron Cheriot tournament. Actually, it was for the young people of Kericho. My only mistake was to hand over the prize to the people who had won the tournament, who are from my constituency.
So this is not your money?
In fact, it's not my money. It is. You can even see the T-shirt is an Honorable Aaron Cheriot. In fact, it's right there. Honorable Aaron Cheriot's tournament in Kericho. So this was a tournament that he does every year.
So who gave you all that?
This is a collection. He collects from friends, you know, from corporate institutions to support the young people, and he has this football tournament that runs through. In fact, members of parliament, so many.
But why in cash?
It's not my tournament. I was just given to hand over. In fact, Honorable King was going to do it, but because he had flown in there and the weather was getting bad, he had to leave, and I was given the money to hand over. Ordinarily,
So Kenyans say this is the problem they have with the members of parliament, because
no, this
say
was
we need
for
to
the
tighten
young
our
people.
belts,
This
but
was,
you guys seem
in fact, I'm very disappointed with the people who were in this tournament, because they should have actually come out to defend, Honorable Kenyattas and myself from that lynching, mob lynching. But let me say this:
it's good
this
that
was
you clarify
so that we clarify this. This was a tournament that runs every year in Kericho County. It is being sponsored by Aaron Cheruiyot and many of his friends. So normally he gives prizes to number 1 to number 10. This was the winning team that had won, and they were to receive a prize of 3 million.
And this is not just about you, Coach, because we've also seen several of them. You've mentioned this is a tournament. We've seen several members of parliament. I also see cabinet secretaries week in, week out go to Harambes, give 3 million, 20 million, 10 million.
Do you know?
And they count it.
It is true.
And they even post it on their own social media.
It is true, Trevor. But do you know for the lengths we go to actually get 1 million for an Harambee? Today, even behind the tent here, I will go and Honorable Kibagendo will tell me, by the way, I have a 7th-day Harambee that I'm going to have this Saturday. Do you have friends that you can give me? We collect in Parliament. Sometimes we even collect up to 2 million from friends. Then you can also visit them. It's like a chama. And we do it all over. And that is why the conversation should be then, should we continue? I'm a product of Harambee. I mean, I come from an extremely humble background. I went to school because people contributed to my study, and there were Harambes all over. So if we have a conversation then as a country and say, let's stop the Harambes, I'll be very glad. By the way, let me tell you, I even hardly do Harambes myself, except for very extreme cases, either for people who have died or for diseases. And I always go for very chronic diseases in my constituents, and my constituents know that. So if you want to have a conversation and say, okay, let's stop it, we'll be very fine. People and our population has pushed politicians to the edge. So let us also say, reduce the salaries of politicians and let us stop the Harambes.
Okay.
Yes,
so you're willing to take a pay cut.
And even corruption. Do you know why corruption is perpetuated, even in civil service? Honestly, look even, for instance, in the police force, where Bwana has worked. You give a police officer to guard a bank that has millions of shillings, and you pay him 20,000 shillings. You want him to guard the whole night a bank that has millions and millions of shillings, yet you're going to pay him 20,000 shillings. Of course, one way or the other, they get tempted, because we all need needs. We all have desires of our hearts. We all want a better life. Yeah. So what is a country we should be looking at then is that a conversation we want to have? Okay. And is it then time that we stop Harambee? So as I finish, let me tell you. So if we must live within and reduce our expenditure, which I agree, I can even tell you, since I've been, this is my 2nd term in Parliament, you can count the times that I've traveled out of the country in being sponsored by Parliament. So I don't take it. Cut down on expenditure. Okay. But sometimes, again, you look at it and say, then, how do you sustain the hospitality industry in Kenya? Because, you know, when members of Parliament, for instance, go to Serena, you are somehow creating more employment by sustaining our hospitality industry. So no, I'm just saying, we have to figure out, you know, when you reduce the expenditure, because government is the biggest spender. If you reduce expenditure, government's expenditure, then inadvertently, then you're reducing the spending locally. So it becomes, again, a problem. Okay. But I will say this, and I want to speak to my colleagues as members of Parliament, senators. I know the hype of the moment has caught you, and everyone wants to speak, to be seen, to be on the right side, but all of you are hypocrites. Let us be very honest. We have lived a life of way too long. No one, in fact, by the way, I don't even know why we are allowing politicians to speak to this issue. It didn't start with them. Let it not end with them. This is a Gen Z issue. Okay. Even all these other, I don't know, Kalonzos of this world, and these other ones who are not Gen Zs, shut up. No one, not a single time in Parliament, and it is there in the Hansard, did Kalonzo vote against the party. He voted all through with the party. So all these ones who are speaking there are just hypocrites. Okay. Another one is mobilizing at the comfort of his bedroom in Canada. And he's telling people, Viva, Viva. What is that Viva? Let us be very honest. Gen Zs did their thing last week on Tuesday. They finished it. What you have now are criminals and gangs that want to take over the government.
Sheikh, how do you deal with the hypocrisy? And I saw you shaking your head.
Trevor, these are good times. Yes. These are very good times of confessions. Every politician is coming out to confess. First of all, as I said earlier, people are starting to own up. I want to talk about the churches.
Yeah.
The churches have already given instructions that politicians should not be coming and addressing people who come on Sundays. Good change which is taking place in the country. So when we talk about the finance bill is the straw which broke the back of the camel.
Yeah.
But a lot of things happened before that. The issue is not the finance bill. It is the usage of taxes that has been collected from the people of this country. When I contribute and I barely can afford to pay to take my child to school, but when the politicians who are now getting that money can afford to drive around showing me off with that opulence that they have, the big parties that they do throw, the big cars that they do drive, the big harambes that they take money to, where does that money come from? It's either through corruption or through these excessive packages that they've given themselves. So what Kenyans are saying is they can see what's going on. And now it's not an issue of only cutting down the salaries. There's a lot of other issues that need to be addressed in this country. Kenyans know. Gen Z know it better than even the other Kenyans. And there's a list that they have already given. Some of the things that we have been talking about all along all this time. There's duplication of functions within the government, within the regional government and the state government. The national government does not want to let go what the Constitution has already told them to let go. The functions that are supposed to have gone to the devolved unit is still being held here in Nairobi. For what reason? Billions of shillings is being held by the Ministry of Water. Ministry of Water has been devolved. Crop agriculture has been devolved. Why are they holding the money here? Billions of shillings is being held by the Ministry of Health here. Yes. Okay? How many hospitals are they addressing? Only the teaching hospitals, the referral hospitals. All the others, the money needs to be going down to the roots. It's not going. Why is it being held here? It is not for the purpose of providing efficiency and service for the people of this country. It is because you can dip your fingers into that money. And this is being done by senior civil servants and the politicians, nobody else. So, my brother Koech, we're not just looking at the Harambe. We're looking at all those things that you fail to do. You allow these things to continue. Part of your job is not only legislation, it is the oversight, to oversight the executive. Okay? When the executive has been misbehaving, and you can see that clearly, because you develop interest in what's going on, you shut your mouth. You are given some small packages. We know these things. We know, we can see it. But our hands were tied, we couldn't do anything. Right now, our eyes have been opened. It is never going to be the same. So let us not only address the packages of the salaries of the MPs. We are going to address that. Taking millions of shillings, we are not going to allow you to do that. It is going to continue because it has been started. The train has started moving. We are just started off from the station. It's not, we are not yet there. We want to see all this, like has been said earlier. Do we require so many PSs? Do we require those ministries? How many people working within that structure? How much salary is being earned? Yes, you're creating employment within the tourism industry. But how much are we losing by you going to Mombasa to enjoy yourself there for 1 week? How much of that money could have gone to support a poor farmer somewhere? Or some people who would be earning 20,000 shillings a month. You go there and spend more than 20,000 shillings a night. Okay? And that's the salary of a Kenyan for the whole month. You know, there are all those balances that we have to take into consideration. We thank God that we have already seen positive change. I appreciate what the president has done. The president has climbed down. He has said, yes, I heard you. For starters, the finance bill, let it go. Point number one. Number two, I'm ready to address a lot of these issues. That's a very good position that has been taken by him. The best that a person can do is to own up and say, yeah, I've done mistakes, and I'm learning from mistakes, I'm going to bring changes. And the president has said that. Okay. And I think he has set an example for this country. Yeah. Let us all follow at the leadership level. And I don't want to blame only the politicians. I blame the senior civil servants. Yes. Okay? And by the way, this is not only the national government. It is the same thing with the county government. Whatever is happening at the national government, at the macro level, at the county level, the same thing is being repeated. Because it is the same people who are being transferred there. Okay. They are learning from one another. So let us go. And my final point is what I'm saying, yes, we have got challenges. Yes. There's debt which is to be paid. But if we cut down on our costs, we will not need to borrow as much as we would have done, even to cover up for those debts. Okay. So first of all, before we go to borrowing, let's look at our expenditure. All right. Let's bring in some of the sound bites from the senators. There's Boni Alwale and Aaron Cheruiyot. This was a cross divide. It was bipartisan. All of them had something to say. Listen to what Alwale and Cheruiyot had to say.
If it was working, some of the ministers in office today would not be ministers. They became ministers because a corrupt Parliament allowed them to become ministers, and then the DPP followed it up by withdrawing their cases. Dissolved cabinet, reconstituted. Mr. President, disband officers outside the Constitution, including CAS, including Prime Cabinet Secretary.
Where this thing has reached, Mr. Speaker, it needs an overhaul. I am afraid that not the usual glue and gum that we put into areas that are leaking will solve this time. It's completely broken, Mr. Speaker. If it means taking a pay cut, we as members of Parliament, Mr. Speaker, good people, we have been told that it's not possible, that members of Parliament will never do it. We don't have an option. We must do it, Mr. Speaker.
Do you agree with what the senators are saying?
Let me tell you something. If there's a good thing that has happened to the president, is these activities coming up. You've given the president a very good platform to reform the country.
Absolutely.
Because, you know, these elected members can tell you, and I know you also have some ambitions. To win an election, you need a lot of money.
Yes.
Like now, to become a governor, because I still want to be governor for Siaya, my budget is half a billion.
That's 500 million.
Yes. So how am I going to recover this money? If you elect me, if I give you $500 million, how am I going to recover it? You know, it must start with the people. The people must agree, because some of these things that are happening, like now the largest population of the voters, near our total Gen Zs, 70%, they can be able to vote someone appropriately. You know, when the president came in, we were all here. We knew what happened. Majority of politicians went with the former president and the former prime minister. We went with them. Because there was no imagination that the sitting president would win an election against such a strong force, against a very popular man like Raila Odinga, and then in addition with support of government. So people believed Raila maybe has been losing elections because of government stealing from him. So people thought now, this time, he must win. The president remained with very few people. The sitting president remained with very few people. Those people we are cascading, the minister for agriculture. Those are the people who sacrificed to remain with him. Akina Kuria, Akina Wahome, all these people, this lady from Coast. Now it was time when he became president to justify that he's a truthful person. Because this is about numbers, isn't it? It's about how you worked. At that level, he had no opportunity to just go and bring people in terms of the... You remember the controversy of the current deputy president and the minister for interior, when they were people were jostling who becomes the deputy. Yeah. So it meant that if the current minister for interior missed his position as deputy, he had to take the next powerful position. And every time an election is carried out, these politicians think about how to win the next election. That is the truth. And that is why I'm saying we must live in reality. Now, you have given the president an opportunity to reshuffle his cabinet. Nobody will complain. He will say, my brother, I gave you. The public wamekataa. Are you getting me?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I don't see anything wrong. But what I'm telling you, the biggest beneficiary of these actions is the president.
Okay.
Because you have even allowed the president, because the president found people earning those safety salaries in parliament. The majority leader in Senate is saying he's ready for the pay cut.
Yeah.
Imagine the president, if he just came into office and then he said, nakata mshahara ya hawa politicians, they would have
revolted.
They would have joined together, whether in opposition, akina Kibagendi and him, wangekaa pamoja wakasema pana, huyu president atuchezea, tumetumia pesa mingi kwa elections, how come he wants to remove, to reduce our salaries? So I'm telling you, the biggest beneficiary of this process is the president, because he will be in a position to reduce salaries. He'll be in a position to, because permanent secretaries, when they are 50, the principal secretaries, You have given him authority to reduce them to 30.
Yeah.
You have given him authority to reduce cabinet secretaries to 14.
Yeah.
I think the president should grow a bit fat in the next 1 week, because much of the problems he has faced, the problems he has inherited, ya kuhangana. Now members of parliament are running away from responsibility, saying, tukate mshahara tufanye hivi. But all said and done, we must go back to honesty as a country. Tusiseme tu kwa sababu we are looking for votes, Kibagendi, because now you are happy where hukufukuzwa kwa sababu ulipiga no. And that is what makes you happy. But also remember, we need to bring in more industries. We need to, I can tell you like where I come from. It's a hell. If somebody does not endorse you to win, it is only my member of parliament, David, that has managed to weather the storm. And it's because we stood with him. Na tukaweka mguu chini tukasema tutachagua. It is rare. So what I'm saying, and that is why even some of us, we are on this side, because tunajiamini, we know what we can do. So what I'm saying is that let's go back, let us be honest. And you are saying that it is not an excuse. President William Ruto inherited huge debts. These debts, when you take, listen, yes, why do you borrow? Like now, you have refused the finance bill. You will borrow 1 trillion. And let me tell you, I'm praying for you to become president. Goja,
let him finish.
I will pray that you become president after this. No, Goja, I'll pray you become president. Because you know, these loans we take, they don't mature when you are the president. They mature most likely when you have left. The president has just paid $2 billion US dollars in Eurobond. That money, if he injected it in the economy, he's paying somebody else loan.
Okay.
So what we are saying is, Kibagendi, I'm not disagreeing with you that we should be reasonable, but equally, we must be able to support government where we can. Let us look for policies. You are in parliament. You have position to legislate. Come up with bills, come up with legislations that will be able to enable us have more industries. We'll be able to, like now, if you go to, I've seen, I want to give you an example of Homa Bay. Government has put in a lot of money in Oluch Kimira. People are not making use of the irrigation scheme. No, not Oluch Kimira is in Karachuanyo.
Sorry,
Some people have even gone to construct homes in places which had tunnels for water. They are not planting rice, which they're supposed to plant there. If you go to Nyatike, government has put in money for irrigation. Nothing is happening. If you go like now we are having Low and Zoya, it's coming up. Government is putting in money for irrigation. And Sheikh, let me tell you, we have brought up very lazy children, including Central, where people are hardworking. They are leaving old people to go to the shambas. And you find them with boda boda, uko sokoni, they are taking drugs. We need to do something about our youth. Apart from saying, wamesoma, watafutiwe kazi, but the level of laziness, the way we have left old people, I'm happy with where Kibagendi comes from. There's still a bit of hard work amongst people.
A bit?
They still, Kisi is still doing very well.
All right.
In terms of, but we need to do something. Members of parliament, you need to come up with something that can help us redevelop these youths.
Okay.
And you know, people have been used to cheap money. Even Omija has a very good career here, but he may think parliament, there is money. I think if they reduce that salary to 100,000, it may help us. So that people don't go there because they are looking for money. So Kibagendi, please, you are young. Where you can support president, please support him.
Okay.
So that we grow this country. Where he is wrong, where he is wrong, don't back down.
Okay.
Say, point it out, it's wrong.
Absolutely.
But don't just say it is an excuse while it is a time bomb that we have sat on.
Okay, so how do we get out of this Kibagendi going
First, I would want to state that Parliament has become an extension of the executive. The executive comes up with inappropriate policies, with inappropriate regulations or taxes, and quickly Parliament endorses and passes. And the president has covertly taken over part of the opposition that aids in this unfortunate scheme, whereby members, instead of sticking with the people, they support the policies or the oppressive taxation by government. This has happened again and again. And today, again, I want to correct Mr. Wino here that industries are not built by taxes. Industries are built by businessmen.
I've not said that.
Businessmen are running away from Kenya because of inappropriate
I'm a student
taxation.
of economics.
Yes.
Let him not put that in my mouth.
No, he said we need industries, and hence the finance bill should have passed.
No.
That is what he
Excuse
said.
me. Let me correct him just a minute. Let me correct you a bit. No.
Let him clarify one.
No. It will harm me. It will harm my image.
You're standing.
Through the finance bill, because of issues of taxations, there are areas where we have tax reliefs.
Where?
To attract, I'm not talking about this particular finance bill.
Has been rejected.
I'm saying, yes, I'm saying in any finance bill, because we have finance bills every year. If you want to talk about tax reliefs and many other items that would attract investment in industries, you get them through this.
Okay, fine. Finish your point.
And you can also come up with legislations that will be able to help us in attracting some of this investment.
Okay,
but you can't say whatever you are saying was very wrong.
The government has literally chased away investors because we have people in government, even from the top, who influence tax regimes, tax schemes that enhance certain individuals' businesses while they destroy their competitors. We have seen that especially in the steel industry, in the cement making industry, where one of the competitors, there's a regulation, a tax that has been introduced on a certain product that does the finishing of making of cement, clinker, whereby now there are 2-3 other manufacturers that actually do produce that clinker for their own consumption. But those that were importing to make cement cheaper, now they are being forced to purchase it from an individual because he has the ear of the head of state, because we don't know what amount of investment he's putting in the politics of these people. That is one. In the health sector, where we have NHIF paying some hospitals and not paying some, where the president and the executive are pushing for social health insurance fund, where they know they have certain schemes where certain hospitals and certain individuals are going to benefit. They are killing NHIF. And they were in a rush.
That is not a fair statement. It has not even happened.
I'm telling you, that is what they were pushing.
That's pure speculation.
It is not speculation. We know. I sit in the health committee. And we said no to 1, 2, 3. But the arrogance I've been telling you about is what we saw in Parliament. And what the young people of this country have said, even this shift, we don't want it. Go back to NHIF, reform NHIF. So, some of the things we are saying today, Mr. Wino, today we want the president to succeed. And how is the president going to succeed? Let him listen to the people. He may not be able to do everything that the youth of this country have demanded.
Yeah.
Some of those things are hard to do in the short term. But in the long term, he'll be able to do them. Look at things that have been raised in the past, from the Kriegler report, from the Waki report, the Ndungu report. Today, we need to reconstitute IEBC in a way that builds confidence amongst Kenyans. When we look at you and your people, your scheme is around ensuring you control Parliament, you control the judiciary, control Public Service Commission, control the IEBC, control the police service, control you know, everything. We need to come to a situation where we stop competing always.
All right.
We look at the bigger picture. How can we ensure we improve the lives of people?
Yeah.
We've spoken here about salaries of members of parliament. Had this country been working, in the sense that had the health sector been working, I would not be, myself and Honorable Koech here would not be contributing in WhatsApp groups for people who are in hospitals, for people who have died. Number two, had education been working, we will not be giving bursaries and then we follow up with harambes. Like in the month of August and September, we'll be doing a lot of harambes for children joining university, because the president has come up with a new funding model that they call is better than what we had. Yet people are not able to pay the fee.
Okay.
Had this country been working, the agricultural sector, where he's saying people are building in an irrigation scheme, what does that tell you? The government is not doing its job. We need extension officers to go down and actually support the farmers to set up.
Okay.
Sheikh here spoke about devolved functions that are in the national government.
Yeah.
Do you know health was devolved? But the combined budget for the health sector in the 47 counties is not even close to the budget of the Ministry of Health at the national government. It is purely, there's a lot of money there, but what does it do? We don't see what it does.
Okay.
We need to genuinely introspect,
and
we need to genuinely advise the president to become a better, to govern better, to bring us together, to reduce on the competition. Because I'm not speaking again, I believe, because time has run out, I want to say finally, to the young people of this country, you have made your voice heard. You have raised genuine issues. Can we step back and look at the president and government do something? If they don't, then we can step up. Number two,
but for now,
to the young people of this country again, can we reduce on consumption of drugs and banned substances so that we can have energetic people that can actually help in improving the economy of this country?
Koech, what do we do now from here? Because you've said that there's a lot of hypocrisy in Parliament. Parliament itself was breached. Some of your legislators have been apologizing to the people. You say you stand by your yes. Looking into the future, what do we do now?
But let me just tell you that in this finance bill 2024 that has been dropped, we were to employ 46,000 teachers. We can't. Yesterday, you saw the judiciary are saying they won't confirm the judges that have been nominated to the High Court. So it's actually starting to be a court of appeal. It's starting to bite. So it tells you that we already have a problem there. It means, again, that eggs, that we had put tax on importation of eggs, it means our farmers will continue to suffer. It means even potatoes, that we had put tax on importation of potatoes, that we will go back there. It has a huge effect. It means our industries that we're trying to protect, because we had said for any foreign imported product, finished imported product, that were coming into the country will have been taxed. It means that even the manufacturers of pad and all these other things in the country, industries, will have a problem. Like what he talked about clinker, actually he misinterpreted the issue. We put tax in last financial year on importation of clinker, and that is why you find now cement manufacturing industry in Kenya was thriving, because that is why you have importation of clinker.
No.
We imposed
the
a tax.
cost of cement when we came in was at 650. It's at 11.
Defke has just opened a factory in West Pokot and is going to employ many people. We imposed a tax. I wish Honorable Kibageni would listen. And if he was in Parliament, because he likes to vote no, even when he doesn't know what he's voting about. So the effect of that. But I will also tell you that President William Ruto was very deliberate on subsidizing production. And that is why, from a fertilizer of 7,000 shillings when we came in, we put it at 2,500 shillings. That, again, has to suffer today. Just allow me to finish.
Donated, the fertilizer.
You know, I don't like when you're dealing with hooligans, even in a studio. When we have 2 kg of unga was retailing at 240 shillings. It's now retailing at 100 shillings because of those deliberate things that we made in our last financial year. 1 kg of cooking oil was going for 500 shillings. It is now going for 200 shillings. 6 kg of cooking gas was going at 1,600. It is now going at 1,200. They are good things that we had that we have to abandon. Now, where we are in now is to say we continue to borrow. Like the president said, we are going to borrow 1 trillion. Borrowing is simply kicking the can down the way and saying, okay, let the next administration come and pay. Like what Owino was saying, we do not want to bite the bullet. We are in this problem because of the parents of the Gen Zs put us in this mess. The parents of, Gen Zs actually come from very privileged families. Their parents are the ones.
No.
Some are from privileged families.
Some.
Yeah, particularly, I mean, by the time,
age bracket.
honestly, by the time you have a phone, an iPhone, and you have all these things, and you can tweet and text, it means that you are privileged. Some of us do not have those benefits. So it tells you that the mess we are dealing with is a mess that was created by someone else. It is something that we must look at. So as a country, we must say then, should the president continue to borrow, and then we pass down to the generations in future the debt that we'll have as a country. So it's a genuine conversation that we might continue to have. But I'm saying, since it's been rejected, we have to be innovative. Okay. We have to find a way. We have to live within our means. Yes. It is a very good debate that the country now is having. And we live within our means. Okay. And we find out to generate revenue to cater for the budget.
All right, finally, Sheikh, where do we go from here now?
First of all, Trevor, it is very easy to criticize. So when we sit around here, we keep on punching the government and the politicians. That is the easiest part of the whole thing. Yeah. But what's more important is to find solutions. We are at a stage right now, we are getting together as a country, which is very, very good. There's been a lot of criticisms. The criticisms have been owned up by the political leaders. But what we need is, where are we going from here? What Kenyans want is actually that resources that are being raised in this country is used in the best possible manner. That is going to be, the benefit is going to be the Kenyan people, not the few people at the top. So expenditure must be cut to size, only on those essential things. Borrowing will take place, but borrowing on the basis of investment which is going to give us returns, not on the basis of just going to pay salaries. Number 3, we need to look at the whole structure that we have in the government. Number 4, do we require all these excessive travels, all these luxuries? Just to give one example, I keep on wondering all the time, when I look at the billions of shillings that the parliament has set up to give them offices and facilities in Nairobi, do we need to get the MPs to go outside? If you look at the authorities, the parastatals that we have in this country, I happen to go to Naivasha for a few meetings there. Every time you go to these top-level hotels at Naivasha, it is the top civil servants and parastatals that are there. Why all this money is being spent on these hotels? To boost the economy of the tourism? Yes, but at the cost of what? So we need to look at our expenditure. We look at the structures, what we have. We look at the efficiency of delivery of services of this country. We look at how every shilling can be spent between the national government and the county government for the proper delivery of services for the people of this country. They're talking about harambes being done. I participate in a lot of harambes. India has become the most convenient place for people to go for medical services. Do we need to go to India? If facilities were in this country, not only the base of physical structure, but the competencies which we do have, and the trust in the medical profession of this country, we're not going to go to Kenyans going to India. So we need to address all these things. You cannot address one in isolation. What I would request our political leaders at this time is to stand with the president. The president has climbed down. The president said he has got changes. It is them who can put pressure on him to do these things properly with the most efficient manner. But at the same time, not to make more demands on him that you cannot do this because of A, B, C, D. Okay. The bottom line of every politician is, as was said clearly here, is I need to come back in the next elections. I think the next election is going to be a major watershed for this country. The Gen Z have come up, and they say they are going to vote all of you out if you don't deliver in the next 3 years. Okay. So we're waiting to see what you're going to do. Yeah. And the public, those of us who are not Gen Z, we are watching the battle between the Gen Z and the political class that is there. And we are with the Gen Z.
All right. Let's see what the people are saying here before we close at Travel Media at Citizen TV Kenya. Let's bring that up on screen and see what the employers of the politicians are saying here. A lot of it coming through. Try and read as many as I can. Babu Michael says, tell Mr. Koech that whether what we say yesterday was hypocrisy or not doesn't matter. We want such confessions to start with and to know where to start. Most people don't know these things. In fact, I expect him to tell us one secret he knows on this. Okay? Okelo Mwalimu says, it's appalling that some CSs and MPs continue to give unsubstantiated allegations on funders and sponsors of the anti-government demonstrations. If they have evidence, what stops them from presenting it to the court? Does this confirm Rigiji's assertions on NIS? Sad state of affairs. Kiprono says, why is it that those carrying cash every weekend to churches and Harambes are politicians from Kenya Kwanza? It seems we have enough money to run this country without borrowing, only that we must deal with the corrupt. Gabi says, what happened on Tuesday is not good, Mr. President. Stop these people who are looting people's property in the name of demonstrations. You said reject finance bill. Now you are on the streets, and yet Mr. President dropped the finance bill. Do you know Ruto? He's the commander-in-chief. Okay. But Michael again says, I think we've already read that. Let's move to the next one. Godi Baraza says, it took the wrath of Gen Zs to smoke out the likes of Edwin Sifuna to come out on a banker, hands up, declaring to have colossal amounts of money on his ETC. Yeah. Question is, were it not for the youngsters' revolt, would he have spoken about it? Okay. Precisely. So it says, Kenya Kwanza MPs have shown that they can't make independent decisions, prioritizing their leader's voice over that of Kenyans. KK's know-it-all attitude disregards the voices of ordinary citizens. KK must take responsibility and avoid the blame game. Kipron again says, cash worth millions kuwa mkono. At the time, Kenyans are told they have to be taxed to finance government services and projects. What stops one from believing that we are being taxed to enable political class to dish money in cash every weekend? Remy Butia says, Kenyans must guard against losing faith in the August House. Parliament is the preeminent institution where our interests ought to be protected. Okay? Babu Michael says the Gen Zs and Millennials demos has sparked a lot of positive reactions. I was shocked about revelation by senators yesterday that the general public don't know. For example, Edwin Sifuna said the government vehicle he has 377,000 shillings on the ETC. Frank Orinde says 2010 Constitution is envisioned a professional cabinet. What we are seeing today is an incompetent cabinet where the president is only keen at rewarding his cronies and the results are out non-performance. KK leaders are only good at defending lies. All right. You say, ask Kibagendi and Koech if they can take pay cuts. There's also the need to review that provision that gives Uhuru Kenyatta cash 444 million of taxpayers' money annually. Same to other retired state officials. Okay. I think they already answered that. Honorable Kibagendi got a podium to spit his anger. You're there to tell us how to reform our beloved country, not to listen to your makasiriko. Okay. All right, gentlemen, that's where we leave it for now. Thank you so much. We ran out of time. Honorable Anthony Kibagendi, Member of Parliament, Ketutu Churches South. Honorable Nelson Koech, MP Belgood, Sheikh Abdullahi Abdi, Chairman NAMLEF, and Charles Owino, Chairperson, KIMC Council. Asanteni sana for making time. Coming up next is Cooking Tips. All right, bye for now.